Hey everybody, it's Romania Black, and we are here. We are finally to Attack on Titan, Season 4, Part 2. Oh my god, I'm not gonna lie, I recorded the recap for Season 4, Part 1 today, like an hour ago I finished up, and I was like, oh god, I drank like half a bottle of wine, I'm still a little buzzed from it, but that's fine, I've got tea. I was gonna, in the recap, I'm like, oh, I'm gonna finish off that wine tonight. No! I was like, no, not at all. So I have some tea. We're gonna cool down from all that wine. But man, I recorded a monster of a recap. Editing it is gonna be a nightmare, but I'm not gonna worry about that now because I was like, no, I waited a solid week after finishing part 1 to do all of my notes and everything for the recap, and then I recorded the recap, and I'm like, I'm not waiting till tomorrow to watch part 2, season 1. No, we're gonna watch episode 17 right now. We're gonna watch this episode because I have waited a week, and I'm sorry y'all had to wait a year, but oh my god, the way we're in part 2 of season 4, finally, and it only took me, this came out January 9th, so I'm only a month or two behind. It's fine. We'll catch up before we know it, right? I'll catch up before we know it, whether I like it or not. So, I don't know going into this season what to expect at all. At all. We know Eren and Reiner are seemingly about to face each other. Seemingly. Gabby and Pieck are still chained together, but I noted in the recap that I think that Porco could take his claw and nick that and get her where she's free. Falco's with Nile. Colt is with Reiner. I'm sure Colt is going to be looking for Falco. So Zeke is wherever Levi is, and Zeke's in the belly of a Titan right now. So there's that. Falco and Hanji on their way to find them. Armin and Mikasa, all of them are underground where they could have a cave-in with Niccolo. And Eren is about to battle Reiner as well as Porco and Pieck. So it's Titan War Part 2. But yeah, I don't know what to expect with this season. All I know is I've been told that I'm not ready. And no, I'm not ready at all. Nope, but that's why you're watching, right? To watch me unravel in my madness. So I cleaned off Whiteboard Coon from the recap. But I'm so excited. This episode's called Judgment. I'm watching it on Crunchyroll. It's called Judgment. So if you had, as of right now, episode 16 has yet to air on Patreon, and episode 14 is about to come on YouTube. So if you all have comments that I feel like will transfer over into this season, I will carry on and put them in the episodes. It may just be a couple episodes behind, but I was going to wait until tomorrow to react to this episode, and I was like, no, I can't. I need to watch it now. And plus, I've got to be out of town next week for a week for work, and so I'm not going to be able to take my computer with me to react, and so I'm going to have to watch a couple episodes of Attack on Titan and then take a week off and then come back, and it's going to be like, I'm not looking forward to it, but that is neither here nor there. So yeah, let's do this, shall we? It's crazy that we're already in part 2. And the thing of it is, part 1 ended on a cliffhanger. It didn't have like a definitive end. So I feel like I'm just picking right up where the episode left off. It doesn't feel like the start of a new season, oddly enough. It doesn't feel like that. And so that's interesting. And I don't know if that's intentional or what the deal is, but we're on part 2. Time to see where this all goes to. I'm going to try to keep as neutral of an opinion as possible. Because like I talked in the recap, the whole point of this series is that war is bad, the cycle of violence is ugly and stupid, and we shouldn't be pursuing it, but these characters have no choice. So it's all down to, I said in the recap, I'm not picking sides at this point, because all the sides have flaws. I'm just hoping that all these characters make it out, and that they all live, kittens and rainbows, and everything will be fine, right? Everything will be fine. Nobody's gonna die this season. Not at all. So, okay, but let's not waste any more time, shall we? We are going to start episode 17 of Attack on Titan. I'm going to call it episode 17. Episode 17 of Attack on Titan, even though it's season 4, part 2. Kind of like a continuation of season 3, part 2. And we're going to start that here in 3, 2, 1. And let's see what happens. Welcome to part 2. Oh my gosh. I think that just like there was, oh God, which episode was it in part 1? But there was an episode where like the first 5 minutes in, I was like, Whiteboard Coon, we need to talk about this. God, Zeke. Oh my God. What? What? Levi? He can't be dead. Hanji was lying. He's not dead. I refuse to believe that Levi is dead. Our boy, he has suffered through worse, right? But he does look like he is barely alive. Barely alive. And Hanji got him out. Oh my god. Like he took that straight to the face. Oh my god. So this episode was interesting. Brutal. Very brutal, setting up the tone for part 2. Setting up the tone in a lot of different ways with the mysticism of Ymir Fritz. Setting up, because that's the strange little girl. Setting up the tone of just this, like, Shig and Sheena just going to hell in a handbasket. And everything just going to hell. And then the whole conversation below with Armin and all them and Anyan. Oh my god. There's a lot to talk about. There's a lot to talk about, and holy crap. So, Judgment. So this episode is called Judgment. It's curious. Zeke ends up in the place that I said Ymir was back in season 2 when she first, turned back into a human. When she first gained her humanity back, she was in the same place with the Aurora Borealis, in the sand and everything, and was perfectly fine. Funny that. And now Zeke is in the same place. So this episode is called Judgment, right? And fun times. You could argue there's lots of judgment going on. Lots of judgment. So, interesting. We need to go back through this episode. Lots of things happening, and I'm so curious about them. Okay. So, just like we got at the end of last episode, we got everything through Zeke's perspective with the flowers on the rain and everything. And now we get everything through Levi's perspective. And God, he's missing some fingers. He lost some fingers from, I'm hoping it was just fingers from the blast. And Hanji finding Levi. Oh my God. And so he's got like stuff caught in his face and everything. He looks dead. And his mouth and everything, and his whole face is bloodied. He looks dead. But but we see the raindroplets falling on his eyes and everything. I don't think he's dead. I think he's barely alive, but I don't think Levi's dead. And that Titan, like, forming a cocoon, like, forming such a crazy concept, the idea of death and rebirth, right? And regeneration. So, Zeke has some judgment placed on him, seemingly, because he is seemingly reborn in the womb of this Titan, right? And he consumes the Titan. He consumes the Titan to speed up the regeneration process. He takes the Titan and basically consumes all that it is to speed up the regeneration. And it seems like he saw or was judged, we can argue, by Ymir Fritz, right? Which is curious, because I wonder, is the Ymir Fritz, that's so interesting, that it seems like Ymir's just stuck there, right? That she's the original Titan, and she's just kind of stuck there. So then meanwhile, Flock is like, God, no idea what happened, but lucky us, our biggest threat is a bloody mess. And then the guy's like, I'll put a hole in his head. And Hanji says he's dead. A thunder spear blew up in his face. The blast shredded his insides, killing him instantly. And Flock doesn't believe her. Flock's like, no, you're lying. And I like the Flock is like, very calmly and collectively, he's like, let me see him. Let me check a pulse. Because Flock's not a dummy. Flock knows. Hanji's like, crap, how do I get out of this? How do I escape? He's not dead, but I don't want him to know. And then that's when he gets interrupted, and it's just the steam getting sucked in to the Titan. Like, it's consuming, instead of exhuming the steam. Yeah, when Titans die and disappear, they don't suck in steam, they expire it, right? And this is sucking it all in to basically give birth to Zeke again. Oh my God. And he just looks like a damn monk when he comes out, like, and the sunlight coming out. Like it was all meant to be, right? And the rain stopping. It's very weird because it's this horrific act. This Titan just like completely died to regenerate Zeke, but it's almost framed as like this godly thing, right? That's this like deity that Zeke just pops out and just comes out of the womb, you know, being born. Again, whenever Isayama shows something being born, it's framed with like this like reverence, right? And that's no different than Zeke in this case. So it's funny we have this whole talk about life and death and birth and regeneration, but it's like birth, the whole process is given reverence by Isayama in this, right? And that ties to Zeke being reborn, and Hanji just looks disturbed. But he's come back. Why is this the fan service that we get? Why? I didn't ask for naked Zeke. I didn't want this. But that's what Isayama's giving us. And I just love that everybody's like, huh. And Flock's like, I wonder if Eren looks like this. No. But it's just, and Hanji's the only one that's like, shit, while I'm here, okay. So, damn, Levi's whole, his eye and everything just has like a crack through it. Like Levi's whole face is just wrecked. God. And Hanji's like, I'm getting out of here. And it's the opposite eye. You have Hanji, the right eye is spared, and Levi's the left eye. Oh my God. So Levi and Hanji, they got into the river to leave, right? They vamooshed. They got out. So they are MIA as far as we know. Hanji's like, I ain't sticking her. She's like, I ain't interested in this naked man. Nah, I'm getting out of here. Me and Levi, we're going. I love that she just takes him and goes. While Flock is enamored, they get away in the current. Oh my God. And then, yeah, he's like, Zeke, what happened to you? And then Zeke says, I don't know. And God, his eyes, they look kind of like Eren's. They're just so steely. And so then we cut to Ymir. And then her hands are like raw, where she's just been kneading something and we can barely see her eyes. There was a strange girl building my body out of soil. Right? I was watching in some strange place. And it felt like years had passed, but at the same time it felt like an instant. And that's where the Aurora Borealis is. That's what freckled Ymir saw. That's what when she had judgment passed upon her, that's what she saw as well. Yeah. Were those the paths? Yeah, I think those were. That the Aurora Borealis, that the old Aurora there is the paths. And that Ymir was transferring her energy to regenerate Zeke. I love the idea that it's in the form of her shaping him out of soil. It looked like she was at the beach, just making him, to do that. And that it was the power of the coordinate. It was the power of the founder that was reshaping him. So that kind of ties the idea that maybe Ymir, the reason that the Titans reshape themselves is that the paths all fall through the nape it all comes to the same point, right? It all falls to the same place. And maybe the idea is that whenever the Titans regenerate themselves, I'd like to think that when the Titans regenerate themselves, that's all Ymir Fritz sitting there just rebuilding them back together. Because she's like a little kid, right? That's so interesting that she's like a little kid being like just rebuilding them together. Like, oh, you got your arm blown off. Here, I'll rebuild it. If they're a Titan or a Titan shifter. Interesting. We get all this in like the first 5 minutes. Like, what the hell? And Flock's like, hey. So you turned the 30 scouts that were guarding you into Titans, right? Yeah, what happened to them? Where did they go? And he's like, where are they? And Zeke's like, oh, well, they're all gone. Levi killed them all. And he's just like, there's nobody here that will get in our way. Ugh. He's like, let's go. Hey, just Zeke needs no clothes. Just stalk around naked. It's fine. It's perfectly fine. But yeah. And then him saying, all we can do is move forward. Right, Eren? Oh my God. I almost forgot about the OP. I'm glad that remembered in a second. I was like, oh yeah, but that shot, Zeke just looks like a monolith. He looks deity-like. He looks like a god. Like he's just been reborn. Like he's so hyper-focused now. Oh my God. He doesn't seem like he's the same as what he was. It's almost like he's been reborn with this different, like this hyper purpose. And he's not the jovial person he was before. But he doesn't have the glasses anymore either. So I'm wondering if the glasses were kind of like his tie to humanity, right? It tied him to Ksaver, right? And without that, what is he left with? And so he says he's going to move forward like Aaron with the plan. Oh, everything is so creepy in this episode. Everything is creepy and brutal. This whole scene with Zeke, I find it ironic that he wants to end the cycle of life when he was literally just rebirthed from a Titan, and that's what he wants to stop. It's the irony of all ironies. He wants to stop the Titans from existing, but they're the reason he's alive. It's like, but he doesn't want to be alive, but he can't stop, right? He feels probably like there's a sense of him being there, like there's a reason he's there, and it's to enact this plan. There's a lot of characters in this episode that think that they're saving the world, and it's crazy. It's just wild, but yeah. But yep. And so then we get the OP. I'm going to skip it. And we cut back to everything going on. That the Titans are on the move, right? That it's begun. And Pixis, the Titans have started to move. So, God, everything. And we cut back to basically what happened at the end of episode 16 leading into this, right? And so I'm going to skip past that little recap there. But, all the airships moving in, and there's a smoke signal. And since Zeke isn't there, they just have actual soldiers. So it's just actual soldiers going down. But we established that Marley has over 1 million soldiers. So these soldiers being sent in, I mean, that's a drop in the bucket for Marley, right? And Reiner. So them all dropping in the soldiers from the airships. And this is very interesting, this whole thing of dialogue. They don't send Titans down. They send actual soldiers and cannons. They send the anti-Titan artillery down there, right? God. It's just a mess. It's a hot mess. And that's what Pieck was looking for. So then Pieck is like, and I like that Gabby gets Pieck's attention, being like, hey, pay attention. There's Aaron. And so then she has Porco slide, but he kind of misses. He kind of he just takes off the arm. I love that the two of them scream. Like, Pieck screams like this has never happened before. I do want to take a picture of that, because that's actually kind of humorous. Because it's the most morbid Attack on Titan humor possible. Like, what the heck? like come on, Isayama. Really? Why is Pieck acting scared that her arm got taken off? And just, come on now. Let's be real. And then she said, that hurt. And then her dropping down. She dropped down, and Gabby reaches for her, but Gabby doesn't realize it's so she can transform and Gabby not be there. Yeah. Mm-hmm. And then it's Porco versus Aaron, and Aaron having the arm, like the God, and they're just wrecking Shiganshina! It's like the Flagels took all this time to rebuild everything, and you're just wrecking it. But then, Pieck. And Pieck grabbing Gabby in her mouth and saying, peace out. Bye. And taking off with her. And so then Aaron looking up, and I will make note, I do get what y'all are saying now. The rotoscope, like the CGI Titans, I get that now. You can tell like their movements are a little bit noticeable, and I get it. It's not a distracting thing, but I did remember you all talking about it, and so I wanted to bring it up that it's there. And he says, to think Marley would launch such a desperate attack. Well, I'm like, Aaron, you were pretty desperate earlier. Yeah, that they're going to launch this desperate attack because nobody knows the plan about the euthanization, and they want the Founding Titan, and you destroyed Liberio, and they want to get Gabby and Falco back along with Zeke. So yes, of course they would launch this desperate attack. That's kind of what they feel like they have to do. Right? He says, given what little they know, they shouldn't have taken this risk. So he's saying, he's like, they don't know anything about the situation, so why would they risk this much? And he pins it all on Reiner, right? But Aaron just looks so dead inside. He just looks so done with it all, and I hate it, right? And I'm trying to go in thinking that Aaron has, because Aaron's like, they don't know what I'm planning. They don't know what Zeke's planning. So they risked all of this to come down here. Why? Right? And they want to get the founder back. But they shouldn't have taken this risk. And then that's when he looks down and sees Yelena. And Yelena is like, come out of your Titan body. Hide inside and escape underground with the Warhammer Titan. So this is interesting. This is a very interesting part of all this, right? Because Aaron, I believe that Aaron is acting on his own. And the thing about Aaron is you don't tell Aaron what to do because Aaron's not going to listen to you. He's in charge of his own freedom, damn it. He'll do what he wants. He's like Cartman off South Park. I do what I want. That's basically Aaron. And so we have all these different plans on the table, right? And again, we obviously have Zeke's plan. We have Zeke and Yelena, and I'm going to put them, together here. Zeke and Yelena have this whole plan, right? And Zeke is with Flock now. So Zeke is with Flock to go to the meeting area for Aaron, where Aaron is supposed to meet them at. All right? And seemingly, what Yelena is telling Aaron to do is exactly what he needs to go meet Zeke, right? It's very curious because she says hide inside and escape underground with the Warhammer Titan, which is how he got out of his jail cell to begin with. So Yelena, she tells Aaron to use the Warhammer Titan to escape underground, right? Here's the thing. I'm so curious. I don't think it's Aaron's hubris. I don't think it's Aaron being arrogant. I'm very confused as to why he didn't just do what Yelena told him to do. Like, why? The only thing I can think of is she tells him to go underground and escape. If he did this, here's the thing. If he did this, then he would be able to instantly meet up with Zeke, right? Because he'd be able to get out and go try to locate him. If Aaron was on board with the plan, with the Z plan, as Plan Z here, if he was on board with that, and he would have just done what she told him to, right? But he doesn't. But he does not do that. Aaron, instead, goes to fight Reiner, which was not part of the plan. So there are a number of different reasons why this could be. So the reason that comes to mind first is to try to protect Armin and the others and let them escape. Because Aaron, I'm sure, knows, Yelena's probably told him that they're underground in a jail cell. So if Aaron just makes his escape, then Reiner and all of them are going to go where Armin and all of them are and could kill them. So if Aaron cares about his friends, which I'm under the assumption going in, I believe Aaron does care about his friends. If he does care about them, then he would be all for protecting them. So he would want to fight Reiner and try to get them away, or at least buy time maybe for them to escape. Maybe that's it. Maybe that's the reason why he wants to buy time so that they don't get caught up in the battle with Reiner and all of them. Maybe. Or does he have another motive? I am so curious. Why didn't Aaron just go? Is he trying to lure? Is he waiting until Zeke meets him there? Is Zeke supposed to meet him at Shiganshina? Is he meeting Zeke at Shiganshina? I don't know. Would it matter where they met? I mean, he could meet Zeke outside of Shiganshina and then them go back. Obviously. I don't know. I'm so curious why Aaron decided not to go with Yelena's plan if he's been following Yelena's plan. Because even Yelena seems surprised. She's like, what are you doing? Yeah. He's like, if you fight, you're at a disadvantage. And she's like, did you hear me? And he's like, nope. I'm not going to respond. He can't talk. That's the funny thing about Aaron's Titan. He can't talk. We've established this and it all comes back this season. He can't communicate. Again, I feel like that's so symbolic that Aaron doesn't have a voice. He can't voice. He cannot speak, right? He cannot communicate. And that's kind of what he's doing now he's not telling anybody his plan. He's not telling anybody what's up. Okay. And yeah, and going down, and him walking down the streets of Shiganshina, it reminded me in that moment of him at Trost with the boulder, him walking through, and just seeing Eren with all the troops landing around him. That's such an image. And Reiner's in the center, but he wants to fight. Yeah, he says, bring it on, Reiner. He wants to fight him. And God, I'm going to take a picture of Reiner there too. So yeah. And Reiner, I love when he has the handout like, I can do the same thing you can do. And then transforming into the Armor Titan. He said, only you could have convinced Marley to do something this stupid. That's the thing too. Yeah, Eren he's mad at Reiner, it seems. He's mad at Reiner for luring them there. And he calls him stupid. He calls their attack stupid. And I mean, it's bad for parody because it's killing their people, right? And it's a bloodbath, this episode. Like, it's awful. And he's like, you could have convinced Marley to do something so stupid. But it's in retaliation to what you did, Eren. So I'm like, I'm curious if Eren thought that Reiner and them, if they were just going to hang back until the rumbling and all this happened. Like, it was a desperate move, but what else did you expect them to do? I'm curious. And I guess he's saying it's stupid because all these people are going to die, but I really think Marley has the advantage here so far. Now, granted, we haven't seen what's going to happen next, but Yelena she's freaked out, and she says to mobilize the troops. And she tells them to go protect Eren. And she just is like, why? Why did you do this? You're not going along with the plan. And then, yeah, of course, it's Eren versus Reiner 2.0. And I love the red versus green, right? And, God. And then they're just destroying Shiganshina all over again. It's just the same tale as old as time, song as old as rhyme, right? And I will make note that Peak has made a habit of rescuing these brawns in her mouths, right? She has used her mouth to rescue not only Reiner back in season 3, part 2, but now Gabi as well. So Gabi's been reunited with Magath. Okay, so Gabi's back with all of them. And she's like, Reiner, he really came to save her. Okay, and then Magath waves her over there. And I do like this scene again. And so we see they have the cannons and everything. And she lets Gabi out. And he pulls her up by the scruff of her dress. And you think, and he's like, Gabi. And he hugs her. And he's glad to see her. Magath is. That Magath was happy she was back. Okay. So then we have Magath, right? And Magath and Marley. Okay, so we have them in all this. And Magath is happy that Gabi's back. Okay. And he's like, damn it, Braun, why'd you go behind enemy lines? And then she says that she's sorry. And of course, Colt comes up. Of course Colt does. Colt just wants to know where Falco is. So Gabi is back with Magath and co. Okay. But not Falco. Falco is still with the others inside the castle. Yeah, and of course, all Colt can care about, he's like, where's Falco? Like him looking around. And of course, Gabi feels guilty because it's her fault that he drank the wine. And she's like, he's in that building over there. So she's going to call attention to him being in that building. So I guess that would be one thing, though, if she notes that Colt's in the building. So here's one thing. If she notes Colt's in the building, then that may keep that building safe because they're not going to fire on that building and have it collapse and go under Falco, right? So she may have just saved Falco's life, right? I put Colt on here. Why did I say Colt? Falco is in the building. And Falco is in the building. So they may not destroy it. So it may be that by letting Gabi go, it may save Armin and all them some more time. It may buy them some more time. Gabi saying that Falco's in that building because they're not going to fire on it and make it explode because they don't want to risk Falco getting hurt. Because they need Falco. He's a warrior candidate. He's being held since Zeke's spinal fluid got in his mouth. And Colt's like, really? And Magath's like, well, shit. And then Magath and Colt look just distraught about that. Like, shit, crap. And then I love Magath's expression. He's just like, ugh. And then as Pieck starts talking, he slowly looks up at her. Like, the animation is so good in that moment. She says he's being detained along with 300 soldiers who drank it. And there are about 500 soldiers in the area, but Zeke's nowhere in sight. So I wondered what Pieck was doing, but as she's talking, she is taking off the parachute and everything for her gear. She's getting her gear out, which is crazy that she's able to do that with her mouth. Pieck, a skilled warrior indeed. There are about 500 soldiers in the area, but Zeke is nowhere in sight. And so he's like, Reiner's fears are what brought us here. Can the enemy use the founding titan? So this is all on Reiner. Reiner brought them there. Okay. Can the enemy... It's funny. It's such a parallel to Eren because Eren brought the soldiers from Parity, the Survey Corps, over to Marley to fight. And it was because the Survey Corps members were fearful that Eren was in trouble. But now it's kind of reversed, that Reiner brings all of the Marleyan troops over to Parity, but it's not because somebody over there is in trouble. It's because they're about to use the Founding Titan, so it kind of is. And so Pieck basically tells Magath and them what she's found out. She's like, I don't know, but it's safe to say that the Founding Titans are trump card. But the fact that they haven't used it yet means that the conditions aren't right for Eren to use it. So I like that she's connecting Eren to all this. She's like, the fact that they haven't used it means that conditions aren't perfect. There's something that they're missing. Mm-hmm. And then I like that Magath is like, what are the conditions to activate it? And that's when Gabby remembers from the airship that now we have the Founding Titan and a Titan with royal blood. Isn't it funny how this all works out? Gabby remembers Zeke's words. Zeke is like, in the weirdest way, like screwed himself so much in this series so far. And maybe he hasn't. Maybe it's all part of the plan. But Gabby, she remembers Zeke's words. Okay? Miscalculations, right? I feel like that whole thing where they're miscalculations is going to tie back to this season a lot. Because Gabby there's a lot of things she's repeating. Mm-hmm. I heard Zeke say that aboard the airship retreating from Marley. As Pieck's putting on this, like, artillery rifle, like, everything. And then Colt's like, but Zeke told me he wasn't a Titan with royal blood. And Magath's like, God. Magath's like, if his parents were restorationist leaders, it's possible. Okay. So the possibility's always been on the table, right? And Magath's like, well, damn it. Knew it all along. Who knew? Supposing that's where he gets his special powers, it might be true. Okay. If Zeke's absence is why the Founding Titan isn't being used, then we can't let Eren and Zeke come into contact. So, Marley's forces, they put together that Zeke and Eren should not meet. Zeke and Eren should not come into contact. Okay. So that's their plan, is to keep them apart. Because if they come into contact, then they can use the Founding Titan powers, and that will be a problem for Marley and all of them, so that's what they're going to try to avoid. Okay. And then Magath keeps saying general. I'm not a commander anymore. I'm a general. It's like he's put himself... It's interesting. I don't know military ranks as well. Let me look. Isn't general higher than a commander? I think so. But he says, and Marley's shield isn't easily broken. Yeah, Reiner takes a damn beating in this episode. Like, his face is broken quite heavily. But here's the thing. Magath says, no, we're protecting more than Marley. He's like, we're saving the world. Right? We're saving the world. From the rumbling. Okay. The fate of the world rests upon our shoulders. And he's like, we're not here to kill the Founding Titan and put off the problem. No, we'll eat the Founding Titan and end the 2,000 years of malice. So their goal then is just to take it back. So the 2,000 years of malice will end if they eat the Founder. Okay. Back to that. So Aaron's the goal. Aaron is the goal. Okay. And he's getting in the thing with Peak. I want to make a note of that too. Magath is with Peak. I think that that's important, that Magath is with Peak. That he's the general, but he's taking to the battlefield and he's fighting alongside the warriors. I think that's so interesting because Magath is putting his life on the line. He's risking a lot because Peak is going to be a prime target, right? And he's just putting himself right there in the thick of it with them. It's like, it is in the oddest ways a symbol of Magath standing side by side with the Eldians. He's like, I'm fighting with you, and I'm going to be in the trenches with you, and if you die, then I'll die with you as well. I respect Magath a lot for that. But yeah, so we cut back to Reiner and Eren just duking it out, and Eren doing a lot of like Annie's moves as well, and doing the whole shoulder thing and bracing it, and then oh God, and he's like not only done the armor titan knuckles anymore, it's like a freaking glove. It looks like the Nintendo glove where he's just put the whole thing on and just punches Reiner and just punches half his armor off. Ugh. And just it's brutal. This whole episode is brutal. Like him just swinging, but Reiner just knocks him through a building. Like it's just God. And then he uses his foot, Eren does. And it seems like Eren might have the upper hand. And then that's when Porco comes in, because Porco's like, I got you. But I was waiting for him to use the Warhammer Titan's powers. I was like, when is Eren going to use the Warhammer Titan powers? And he chooses now to do so. Right? And Porco, let's make note that Porco is just out here for revenge. Right? Porco is out for revenge. I feel like Porco's gonna die. I don't know. I just feel like I feel like in this story, these characters, it's moving on just revenge. Like we've moved past just revenge at this point and just vengeance for one person. But for Porco, it's not just one person. He says, I'll make you pay for trampling over my home. So Porco's like, this is revenge from trampling my home and killing my friends and family. Okay. And then, yeah, and Porco and Reiner working together. And Reiner saying, Eren, all on your own, you're not a big threat. I don't know if Eren, but that's the thing. God, because I don't think Eren's going to be on his own. We're going to talk about this. But yeah, Reiner makes up a pretty good point. That Reiner's point is that if Eren is that alone, you're not strong, right? Alone, you are not strong. You need strength in numbers. And Eren is bound and determined to prove that wrong. So, but I don't think Eren's going to be alone. That's the thing. Okay. And so he's like, just give up. This is the end for you. But no. And then Eren's like, no, damn it. And he uses the power to like spear them. Using the Warhammer Titan. God, and it's exactly just like she used. Like Lara Tybur used. And that's so grisly. God, like the muscles and everything on Reiner's face. It is so disturbingly grisly. This episode is not supposed to make you feel good about the battle. It's so crazy because back in the battles in season 1, it was like y'all felt gung-ho, and myself included. I was like, oh yeah, these Titans are fighting. Haha, isn't this fun? Isn't this fun? We're fighting these Titans. But now, no, it's not fun. It's not fun anymore. Because you see like these Titans and they're like bloody and mangled and there's just like muscles and blood everywhere. And we haven't even gotten to the soldier part yet. Because here you have the Jaegerists coming in. You have the Jaegerists coming in to try to use the Thunder Spears to get rid of Reiner and Porco. And then they just get blown apart. Like, oh my gosh, like Peak fired the shell. Well, Magath fired the shell on top of Peak. And that's when Yelena gets worried. Because Magath's on top of Peak. Firing the shell and like blows through Eren's face. And Yelena is just seeing what's happening. And she's in a panic. And Anyan's like, what is going on? And just half of Eren's brain gets blown up. But I don't know if Eren's transferring his consciousness underground like what the Warhammer did earlier. You could argue that's what's happening. I don't know if he's luring them all into a trap. Because, okay, information for public disclosure. Anti-Titan gear. Following the raid on Liberio, where the Cart Titan's turret gear was damaged, new gear was designed to defeat the founding Titan. It improves upon the anti-Titan artillery appropriated from the Mid-East Allied forces by being designed to penetrate through even Titan hardening. I was wondering about that. I was like, so basically, they learned from their enemy. Exactly what Yelena was talking about. We learned from our enemy, and they made more weaponry. Only this time, they took the Mid-East Allied forces stuff. So Yelena panics. About this all, thinking that Eren is going to get eaten, right? I do think, though, that a part of me is thinking at this point that Eren has lured them all to this central point, because he learned from the Warhammer Titan that he could put his consciousness underground. But Eren's been inside the war. But here's the thing. Eren's whole he's been inside the regular version of himself, the Attack Titan and the Founding Titan. He's not Lara Tiber. When she created the Warhammer Titan, she created it from the ground up, and she was already underground when it formed. We've seen Eren inside the Titan, so he is actually in there. Okay. I still think that it's a trap. I still think Eren's luring them in there for something. We just don't know what yet. And Magath says to load the next round. Okay. And then Koslow's up there too. Koslow's there. He's like, the Attack Titan has lost motor control. Okay. And she says commander, and he means, you mean general. He says Marley's military has fallen on hard times. And him saying its best gunner climbed all the way to its highest rank. So basically what Magath is saying is that he's their best gunner, and that's why he's with Pieck for this. Okay. And then Porgo's trying to eat through the thing, and Reiner's trying to smash it up. And then they all, this part was hard. Like the Marley military just firing on the Jaegerists, and they just drop like flies. This part was really hard. Saying there's too many. And then they just get blown away. And it's awful, right? Like, this isn't, he's like, I thought most of their officers were slaughtered. No. And how'd they regroup in less than a month? And that's the thing. The plan was that they were going to take out the top brass. The plan all along was that they were going to reforge the military anyway. Eren's attack just gave them an excuse to do it even quicker without question. There wasn't any government hindrance to it because they were like, we're desperate, we need to move now. So in the weirdest of ways, the whole attack on Marley, it just sped up the process. Oh my gosh, and Yelena's terrified. So I do think Eren has lured them in there for something. I don't know exactly what yet. But this whole scenery here, it's really disturbing. Like, seeing all the soldiers just getting killed and just dropping like flies and just being blood everywhere. Like, there's nothing. I was saying earlier, back, when we were watching season 1, and it was just, our Survey Corps crew with their little ODM gear fighting against these titans, these cannibalistic monsters. It's all fairy tale like, and nothing, it's all fairy tale like, and it's not grisly at all. This is grisly, and it's meant to be. I think Isayama's just like, see how awful this is? See how awful this is? Yep, it is. And Anyan's like, and Anyan says the founder will get eaten, and he runs off. And he runs away. So Anyan he takes off to go get Armin and them, because he's like, well, crap. He's like, the only ones that can help now are Eren's friends that are in the basement. He's like, I need to go try to get them to help. Like, they're the best of the best we got. I've got to go. And we have the Colossal Titan, so I'm sure he wants Armin to come out and be the Colossal Titan and help them. I'm sure that's why he went down there. I do think that Eren has some plan up his sleeve. Because why would he just sit there and take it, right? Something's amiss. And because Yelena says, Eren, you're not like other people. You're special. Yeah. That whole thing, Yelena is like, you're special. Yep. Okay. And God, we're just going to bring that up in this. And she's saying that he's special because him and Zeke are the ones going to change the world, right? But it's just like, you're special. It's like, yes, we know he's special because he was born. Like, I spent all day today going over that. So yeah. And so then Porco got out of his spear and goes after Eren, but Eren is still using the power of the Hammer Titan. So he's waiting on something. He's surrounding himself by all of these spikes for a reason. Right? He's doing this for a reason. Oh God, so bloody. It's so bloody. Like she fires again at him. But he's still there. I'm curious. And then Magath says wear him out. The Warhammer is powerful, but its power exhausts quickly. So that's the caveat, right? So apparently the Warhammer exhausts quickly. That's the problem with it. That's why Lara could only do so much before she exhausted herself. It exhausts quickly. It's just like, it's a really powerful Titan, but it does not have a lot of stamina. Good to know. That's a good caveat, I suppose. But Eren, God, this surprise attack was built upon Willie Tyber's sacrifice. And so Magath is still thinking about Willie. He's still thinking about Willie in all of this. He gave his life to proclaim what we need is a Helos, a new hero. Oh, God. And as he's saying this, as he's saying they need a new hero, they're just blowing up. Oh, my God. Blowing up all the Survey Corps, all the Aegirists. A hero to save the world. It's God. But what is the world that they're saving, right? That seems like that's what the point is in this moment. It's like, what kind of world are you saving? Like, what is the price of this hero, right? What this whole thing that they need a Helos and a hero. And as we have this big, beautiful speech about how we needed to save the world, it's just like soldiers are dropping like shells. It's like shells out of like a gun. Soldiers are just dying. And it's like the shells of a gun. They're just, the way that they were dropping on camera, it looked like shells out of a gun, the way they were dropping to the ground. But yeah, it's like, what kind of world are they saving? Like, it's just death and destruction, right? Mm-hmm. And then Reiner says, enough already. And him pulling that spike out. And then Eren is not saying anything. He's so quiet. And Reiner's almost like, what are you doing? Like, what are you waiting on? Why aren't you saying anything? And him putting him through the building. And he says, you've lost. And just making him scream. Everyone suffered enough already. And he's like, you've suffered enough already. Because Reiner's putting himself in Eren's shoes. He's like, Eren, if we are indeed the same, he's like, enough. So we got Reiner over here. And Reiner is basically telling that Eren is lost. And that everyone, including Eren, has suffered enough. Which, yeah, I agree with Reiner in that. That's very true, but okay. But the problem with the Marleyan side in all of this is that their goal is to take the Founding Titan and all this, and they're going to destroy Parity, so they're going to kill Eren anyway. So he's like, Eren, just give up. You've lost. Just give up the Titan. Let's go. You've suffered enough already. Just go to rest. Like, it's just time to... It kind of relates back to the OP of part 1, right? So, I mean, the problem in all this is that Magath and Reiner, their words, sound really great, right? Magath is like, we need a new hero. We're going to save the world. Great. But the problem with all this is as we're hearing them say all these things, we're seeing them slaughter the Jaegerists. And we're seeing Reiner basically say, well, I'm going to kill everybody here, but you've suffered enough. So it's problematic on that end for sure, right? It's problematic on that end. There are problems with that logic. Okay. And then as soon as he's saying that, we go down to the jail cell where Niccolo and the others are. And Onion's run down there to let them out. Okay. And so then what's going on outside? He says Marley came in flying on airships. There are about 500 soldiers plus the armored Titan. So, okay, so we've established, all right. So they're about on equal terms, right? Because Peak said there's about 500 soldiers. And they said there's about 500 soldiers from Marley. Okay, so Marley didn't really bring that many then. So Onion, he says that there's about 500 Titans, but the deal is that there's also 500 soldiers, but there's also 3 Titans, right? And so that's Marley's side. And we have about 500 soldiers that are being slaughtered, but then there's about 300 that could turn into Titans, right? Yikes. And then they technically have 2 Titans, Eren and Armin, possibly with Zeke to make 3. So they may have the upper hand against Marley and the Volunteers, maybe. It's just the artillery and stuff that they have is the problem. And then Eren is fighting alone. That's the thing. He's struggling. He's not going to last. So we have this whole thing about Eren being alone and that being a bad thing, right? Onion is saying Eren is alone. He's not going to be able to last. You all need to go help him. Magath and them and Reiner are like, Eren, you're alone. You're not going to be strong by yourself. You need help, but you don't have any, so we're going to take advantage of it. And Onion, I love Onion trying to like get the key in, and he's so nervous. And then as it falls down, and then that shot of Armin with the light and the bars, he's like, Marley will steal the founder. He's like, help us. We have to protect Eren. So Onion has come over there to use them, basically. I mean, Armin and co. This is all very interesting. Armin and co. Onion, he's like, we have to hurry if we don't rescue Eren. If you don't help your friend, they're going to steal the founder and we're all going to die. Isn't that the reason you went to Marley in the first place, to go rescue Eren? Do it again, do it again. But this is part 2. And I love that we get Armin looking disturbed. Mikasa is scared. John is conflicted, like, okay. And then we get Connie. And God, Connie. So I wanted to know, going into this episode, how everybody felt about the plan. And we find out this episode how everybody feels about it. And I'm honestly, it feels good to get everybody's thoughts out in the open about this. It's like, okay, what do they think about all of this? Because we've had basically time to sit and stew and think about this. What's going on? And Connie comes out and says, he's like, what's this we? This is your fight. Why should we listen to you? You guys betrayed us. And Onion's like, if I went against Yelena, she would have blown my head off. And I wondered that in the recap. I was like, Onion's smart, but he knows. He's like, Yelena will kill them and she won't hesitate. So Onion is saying that he had to do it because of what Yelena told him. He was afraid of Yelena killing him, which after what we've seen happen to Niccolo's partner, okay. So Connie is not on board with the plan. He's mad. And God, this whole thing with him, because Onion's like, if we went against Yelena, she would have blown our head off. And Connie's like, you were just pretending to be nice to us. Right? And plotting to take over Parody with your wine. Connie's like calling him out. Connie's like, why should I believe you? He's like, you had this whole thing with the wine. But we find out later Onion didn't know about it. And so we find out later that that's not necessarily true. He's like, I'm fed up with getting betrayed all the time. I felt really bad for Connie in this moment because he's like, Connie just feels betrayed, right? He feels like he's been betrayed and he's about to cry. But Connie, and he names off all the ones that he thinks have betrayed him. He's like, Reiner. He's like, I saved Reiner's life and he tried to kill us. I saved Annie's life and she was trying to kill us. Eren, we saved Eren's life and he thinks Eren's betrayed him. He's like, I'm sick of it. And you see Mikasa come up to Armin and them. It's so sad. And God, he's like, why the hell should we help Eren if it means none of us can have kids? He's like, why should we help him if he's taking away our future? And then I love that Armin stops him. I love this shot. Sasha Purvis was noting that they make Armin look so good in this season. They really do. They really make Armin look really good. But this shot may be the thumbnail. I don't know. It may be the thumbnail because Armin, like, I love that Jean's behind him in the shadows a little bit, that Jean's behind him, like that Jean's backing Armin up. I love the symbolism of that. We don't see Mikasa in this, but we love that Jean is behind Armin, like his right-hand man. And it's his right side, so it's his right-hand man. Jean is gonna back Armin up with whatever he says. Or at least that's what we think. I love this. I love that. And Armin says, let's hear him out. Because that's Armin, right? Armin's like, let's hear him out. All right? Let's listen and understand. He's like, this whole just talking about who betrayed who and all of this, he's like, it's gotten us nowhere. Let's hear Anyan out and what he has to say. Okay? And I love that the Browse family and Niccolo are like, and Armin, it's so funny because Armin's the one with the most power in the situation. He's a literal colossal titan. And he's like, let's just talk this out. Let's see what's going on. I love this. I love the example that Armin is setting for these kids watching this whole scenario. And Anyan, he says that I had no idea, honestly. The wine, the euthanization plan, the volunteers didn't know. So supposedly, and Niccolo kind of backs it up, but the only ones that were privy to it were Yelena, the Jaegerists, and those Marleyans that she got the rights for, right? The Marleyans, and then Zeke and Eren. They're the only ones that supposedly knew about this whole euthanization plan. And it makes sense why the Marleyans would go along with it, because they want the Eldians. It makes sense why she got the Marleyans the rights to serve the wine, because the Marleyans were going to go along with it, because it's like, oh, we get to turn Eldians into Titans? Okay. They may not have known about the euthanization plan, but they knew about the wine. And Niccolo knows that because he was a part of the Marleyans that knew about it. And the Jaegerists knew about the whole wine thing, but not the euthanization. And Niccolo's like, he's telling the truth. Yelena told us to keep quiet. She said not to tell the volunteers. So nobody may have known about the euthanization part except Yelena, Zeke, and Eren. They may have been the only ones that knew about the euthanization thing, but the wine part, the Jaegerists and the Marleyans knew, but not the volunteers. Interesting. Okay. Besides, he says, I don't want Eldians to get euthanized. Anyan says he doesn't. He's like, I want to build parity together and beat Marley side by side. So there's a little bit of edge with that, right? There's a little bit of edge with that, because you could argue that Anyan has maybe an ulterior motive in that, because he says, I want to build parity together and beat Marley side by side. So he still wants to wage war against Marley. And you could argue that Anyan wants to use the Titans to do that, right? So in that case, you can kind of, it's in between the lines there that, yeah, Anyan may want to work with parity to rebuild it, but at the end of the day, he still wants to destroy Marley with them. So they still want a war with the Titans, and if the Eldians, all the subjects of Ymir, are euthanized, then that won't work. So there's a little ulterior motive there. All right. That's why I threw everything away to come. I gave my all to the people of this island. There's a lot of clenched fists in this scene. Like, Armin has his fist clenched. Like, his resolve, he's got his fist clenched. Anyan has his fist clenched. Like, Anyan is saying, I gave up my life to come here for this purpose, so I'm committed to the cause, right? Interesting. And I did it because I believe this island had a future, and kids are the future. So if the euthanization plan is carried out, then what's the point of all of our effort? So yeah, and that's a good point too. It's a little cliche, the whole kids are the future. I mean, he's not wrong. But he's like basically saying, like, the volunteers, like, we gave up our lives to come here and try to rebuild parity. So if y'all are euthanized, then what's the point? Like, what was the point of all of our effort? Why do we do all this? Okay? So, I mean, I'm sure, even if he's lying, there's some truth mixed in with that. And he's like, believe me. And again, this episode's called Judgment, right? So you can argue that Zeke was given judgment by Ymir. You can argue that that Yelena and all them that we're seeing Magath come in. And we'll talk about judgment later there, but the idea is that, yeah, Anyan's like, pass judgment. I want you to believe me in this case, right? And Armin's the one to pass judgment down here in the cellar, honestly. Because he says, I do. And they're like, Armin, he's like, you once said this. You said that we exist because we're wanted, including the subjects of Ymir. So, and that's a big distinction to make. Armin says that we're all wanted, not just subjects of Ymir, not just Marleyans, but he says our existence is because we are wanted in this world, that we have a purpose, right? So Armin is connecting to Anyan, saying that we're wanted, right? We have a purpose. That because we exist, we have a purpose. There's a meaning behind it, right? And the subjects of Ymir are included in that. It's more interesting with a mix of people. And you remember that from years ago, from like 4 years ago, you remembered it. He's like, you've shown your views basically go against Zeke's. Okay. So he's like, you're that kind of person. And Armin reaches down, he's like, on your feet. And I love it. It's a little reminiscent of Eren reaching down to help Reiner up to his feet. It's a little reminiscent of that, kind of, in a way, but there's more of an innocence to it. And I love that Armin's hand is illuminated by the lantern. I love it. Okay. And then he puts his hand on his shoulder. I'm like, Armin he's like, I believe you too. And so Jean believes him too. So Jean, again, I said that Jean is going to back Armin up, right? And poor Connie grabbing his head like Connie doesn't know what to think. So Jean is with Armin. Let's be clear on that. Jean's like, what do we do now? What can we do? If we help Eren and Zeke, it means letting the euthanization plan happen. So again, we're down in the basement trying to figure out what to do. So Jean's like, do we help Eren and Zeke? Because if we do, then we let the plan happen. So there's that. Okay? And Connie's just trying to make sense of it all. And he's like, no, we can stop the plan. And I'm like, how? What? He's like, if we lose those two, we can't protect the island. So how are you going to stop the plan? What? That's the confusing part. He's like, we can stop the plan, but if we lose Eren and Zeke, we can't protect the island. And I'm like, well, but Eren and Zeke are going to enact the plan. So how are we going to do that? Okay. I guess he's saying that, And then Connie's like, what are you saying we do? He says, if nothing else, show off the rumbling's might to the world. Well, but Anyan, honey, they're planning on doing the rumbling and the euthanization side by side, right? They're planning on doing it at the same time. They're not going to say, well, first we'll do the rumbling and then we'll think about the euthanization. No, they're going to do it at the same time. So, Anyan, my dude. Yeah. The rumblings might. And he says, what do you think, Mikasa? Do you want to help Eren? And Armin, I like that Armin asks Mikasa her opinion. And Mikasa, she wants to, but she thinks it's just because of the blood. Mikasa's like, I think it's just because. And then, so Armin kind of breaks this whole thing down. Armin is basically me from the recap. She's like, I do. As she's holding the scarf, she's like, I want to help him. But like Eren said, it's probably because of that. It's probably because of my Ackerman, because I'm an Ackerman. If this isn't my own will. And then Connie is like, huh? Connie's like, I missed this whole Ackerman conversation. Say what now? And Armin's like, I think Eren lied and made that up. So Armin's going to call him out. And she's like, but it's true that I get headaches from time to time. But like we've talked about, her headaches could be from a number of things. They could be from trauma. They could be from the concussion she sustained. They could be for a lot of reasons. She says from time to time. Why do you think it's a lie? And he's like, why? What? And then, that's interesting that Armin's like, why do I think it's a lie? And then he's like, do you guys honestly think Eren wants to stop Eldians from having children? Well, I do. I do. Yeah. He's like, do you guys honestly think that? And it cuts it on everybody's faces. And Jean speaks what I'm thinking. Jean's like, I don't think it's like him, but it's not that outrageous. Jean is, yeah. So Jean is like, yeah, maybe. Yeah, maybe Eren does think this. Jean's like, I'm just going to say it. Eren might be on board with this plan. And Armin seems almost offended by that. Armin's like, it is outrageous. This is Aaron. Oh, buddy. Oh, buddy. Ooh. Armin is in a big state of denial about Aaron and Aaron being on board with the plan. Because, oh my God, that face that Armin makes is almost, it's so crazy. Like when you look back in episode 16 when he was crying with Yelena, he told Yelena like their cause was noble and that's why he was crying. And Yelena was happy about that. But I also was like, was it just Armin saying that? Or was it Armin not wanting to believe that Aaron would go along with something like that? But yeah, he's like, this is Aaron. And then Connie's like, well, then why doesn't he oppose Zeke and Yelena then? And so Armin tries to break it down. He's like, because he doesn't have to. Why doesn't he oppose him? He's like, because he doesn't have to. And I love the light shining on him in this moment. The Founding Titan's powers is his to use. That is a good point, though. Armin bringing up that the Founding Titan powers are his to use. And that does go back to what Kasavr said. Kasavr's like, you can try to convince Aaron to use them in whatever way you want, but at the end of the day, it's going to be Aaron's right to use them however he wants to because he's the Founding Titan now. You can try to convince him and sway him all you like and persuade him, but it's going to be his choice at the end. And that's, I guess, what makes Aaron the most free in this situation. And at the end of the day, it is Aaron's power. He does have the option to do whatever he wants to with it. And that's what Armin's saying. He's like, Aaron doesn't have to go along with Yelena and Zeke. He doesn't have to go along with it. It's his power to use. Right? When Yelena brought up the idea to him, he had no other choice. And I've never seen Armin so expressive before, like using his arms and gestures. Like he's just so expressive in this moment. He's like, no, Yelena brought him the idea. He had no other choice. It was the only thing on the table at the time. If he refused, who knows what Yelena would have done? So yeah, he's bringing up a really good point at the time saying, we didn't have any other options on the table. We didn't have anything else working. So when Yelena brought up this plan to Aaron, Aaron sprang into motion and was like, okay, I'm going to go through with this because this is the option we got on the table. But that's not all Armin says. Yeah. He says, but if he goes along with it and convinces them he's their ally, then he can protect the island with the rumbling. And that fist, it's like Armin's resolve. That's the only thing holding him together with this. Nobody will dare touch Parity for 50 years. Okay. So Armin is thinking his idea is that Aaron is going to use the rumbling, right? He's going to use the rumbling to save Parity and keep it away from everybody else for 50 years. The thing about it is, I think that it's questionable, right? It's making you wonder because I'm like, yes, Aaron could use the rumbling to deter everybody and keep Parity safe for 50 years. Sure. He could also euthanize all of them and go along with Zeke's plan. Sure. We don't know enough about Aaron. It seems like everything about Aaron contradicts the euthanization plan, right? It seems like everything, and I talked about it so much in the recap that go listen to that 5-hour jaunt. but yeah, everything Aaron stands for about being born into this world and being special and everything, it all relates to that. So the euthanization plan kind of flies in the face of everything we know that Aaron represents, right? But I'm kind of with John. Though Aaron seeing all of this stuff happening, maybe Aaron would be on board with it. I don't know. And here's the thing, I don't know. The ED makes me question things, and we'll get to the ED, right? But that clenched fist of Armin and Mikasa being like, and Mikasa thinking about it, and Connie's thinking about it, and Jean's thinking about it, and Armin's like, no, the Aaron we know would not take away the future of the subjects of Ymir, of Eldia. He wouldn't do this. They're like, the Aaron that we know is about life and about people existing and having purpose. He wouldn't do this. They're like, he wants to activate the rumbling to keep everybody away from us for another 50 years. So that we can buy time. And I can see why Armin would think that too, because back in season 3, back in not season 3, but back in part 1 of season 4, in episode 10, in episode 9, when they were at the firing range, and Eren was like, yeah, we have to buy more time the best that we can. Armin's like, that's what Eren's still pushing for. And there's Mikasa over there holding the scarf in one hand. Connie's like shaking his head, like trying to make sense of it all. Jean is the closest to Armin. Jean, and then Niccolo's on the other end, and Anyan's next to Connie. So Jean is the closest to Armin in this. And then there's those candles, the light. So the question is, so I think that Armin and Anyan are on board the same page. They're like, okay, we'll help Eren start the rumbling because we think he's only going to do the rumbling. We don't think he's going to do the euthanization. Okay. All right, that's where we're at. There, it seems like Armin and them are going to help him to get the rumbling started and not have the euthanization happen. Okay. All right. Hope that works out. But then, yeah, Eren just sitting there screaming. And Yelena just there up on the rooftop watching it all go down. Oh my God. And she won't leave. Like, she's just up on the rooftop watching it all happen. And it's so sad. Like, there's just like it's just people killing people. Like, just them strangling. Like, Jaeger is strangling the Marleyans. Like, people firing bombs, everything. And Eren's just screaming. Like, screaming in pain. And then there's just people hanging. It's a horrible scene, right? It's awful. And in that scream, it's like Eren just wants it all to end. And Reiner's just pushing up against him. And I can't believe that's where it ends. Him just screaming. I can't believe. And it's like Eren's roar in that moment is just like Eren just wants all this battle to stop. And so that's what makes things so complicated. I don't think Eren just wants all this fighting to be over with. And so that's why a part of me is kind of wondering if he would go along with the euthanization plan with the sterilization, if it meant that it would stop the fighting from happening. But he has to know that his friends would not be on board with it, right? He has to know they wouldn't be on board with it, right? Because they clearly aren't. They're not on board with it. They're not happy with it. No, not at all. None of them are really happy about any of it. But they're all now questioning whether or not Eren would really go along with Zeke's plan. And Armin's convinced them all that no, that's not the case. And I don't know, honestly. Even after talking all that about Eren, we just see this all happening in this episode where all these people are dying, all this bloodshed, and it's so brutal. And it's so awful. And there's just Eren screaming as he's being pierced by this spike. And I'm like, maybe Eren is done with it, you know? And then we get to this ED. This ED. It's very reminiscent. I want to go through this ED real quick. It's very reminiscent of Mikasa and the original ED for season 1, right? It looks very much like this. It's the same like monochrome, like grayscale, but she has the scarf. Only instead of her having the scarf, it's Eren with the scarf. And it's interesting that that the scarf is red on Eren, and he has the knife. And we had the knife back in the ED of season 1 with Mikasa. We had the knife back there too. But this case, the knife is bloody, like the knife has blood over it. And there's the white flowers and the blood dripping on the flowers. And it shows Eren as a kid moving forward. And it's almost like, it's like when he was trudging up the mountain in episode 12 in Guides. It's the same like motion of kid Eren. And he looks so sad. And then the scarf leaves him and it transforms into a bird, right? And it flies away. So I'm curious, that the scarf represents Eren's compassion and kindness, right? It's his protection, right? The scarf represents Eren's protection because he says he'll wrap it around Mikasa as many times as needed. So he'll offer his protection to her as many times as she needs. And so that protection coming off of him and transforming into a bird, it's like, okay, well, is Eren... It's funny that it transforms into a bird to fly away. So is it representing freedom. Because it transforms into a bird and flies into the night, and then the bird looks like it's sunny, and it almost looks like the cages of. And so the bird gets trapped by this cage that's surrounding it. Looks like a terrarium, like a big caged in area, and the bird evaporates and explodes. But then suddenly the cage is gone, and Aaron is outside in the world, and there's flowers and things everywhere. And he's happy. And it's like there's no more cage, right? The cage is gone. The bird cage has been lifted away from him, and he's happy, right? Because he's happy he's by himself, but he's by himself. He's by himself, and the cage is gone, so he's free. But then this is where things get a bit creepy, not gonna lie. There's Shig and Sheena and everything, but everything's grown over. Like there's no life left there, right? Everything's grown over, like there's bushes and you see Utgard Castle and everything, and everything is regrown around it, and the walls are gone. The walls outside of it are gone. Oh shit. The walls are gone, and you see the castle and everything, and the roof's off the castle, and it's all destroyed. There's no one on the throne. You see the statue of Hellos. Or no, that's not the statue of Hellos, is it? No, but you see a statue of someone, and with their hand up in the air, and it's gone. And it's all grown over. And then you see Aaron walking through in his adult state, walking through the flowers and everything, all alone. And then it's like a flame, like a rainbow flame, like the Aurora Borealis, and then he just flies away. That makes me a little worried. Because that makes it seem like he just destroyed everything. That Aaron just destroyed everything. Like destroyed the world and killed everyone. And then only after the walls were gone, after the world was destroyed and nature reclaimed it and everyone was gone, then Aaron could rest. And then he just goes. That's what has me worried. Because I'm like, no! I don't want you to destroy the entire world. No! Even though it's so hard, right? It's so difficult. Because in this episode, that ED is so freaky. It's very creepy. It's so hard because we have these horrible images, this imagery of death and destruction and violence at its like most brutal it's ever been in this series. It's so disturbing, right? And it's clearly Isayama saying like, look how bad things are. And every side thinks that they're doing something right. Yelena and them think they're saving the world. Magath thinks they're saving the world. Aaron thinks he's saving the world. Armin and them, they're trying to help potentially Aaron save the world. Everybody believes that they're doing something good for the world, but the cycle of violence is still there. And so it's just very sad. It's just very sad. I don't know. So looking back at this, the idea of judgment. Okay. And it's almost like, is Aaron passing judgment over all of them? Like looking at all this blood and gore and everything and passing judgment in this moment? Is that what Aaron is doing? Armin definitely, they're passing judgment down in the basement. Like, how do we judge Aaron? How do we judge his actions? And they are convinced that Aaron is not trying to euthanize everybody, that he just wants to start the rumbling to protect them. That's all they think that there is to this. But Jean is the only one that seems like it wouldn't be out of the ordinary. It wouldn't be outrageous to think. You know, Jean may be like, it's not outrageous to think Aaron would want to do this. But Armin is convinced that that's not the case. Right? And Yelena is, thinking you're special. You're different than all the others. Why aren't you going to Zeke? And meanwhile, Zeke is on this, rebirth path. And Levi has seemingly died. So is Levi going to be reborn too? How does that work? Oh my God. I think Levi's barely alive because Hanji would have handed him over if there hadn't been a pulse. I think Hanji knows that he's barely hanging on. Now, if that's the Ackerman blood in him, possibly because the Ackermans, they're superhumans basically. So that could be the only reason he's alive is because he's an Ackerman. I don't know, but Flock thinks he's dead, or he doesn't think he's dead, but he might be now. God. Yeah, so there's that. So we don't know where Levi and Hanji are. They're MIA in all of this. Zeke is with Flock and them, hopefully finding clothes. He's seen Ymir Fritz. Some shit's gone down. I don't know what to make of Ymir. She seems sad, but she seems sinister, but then she seems like pitiful. So it's curious that Falco said what a powerful name for a pitiful woman in talking about freckled Ymir, but it might have been the same thing for real Ymir. We don't know. I'm so curious. The whole mystery around Ymir Fritz is like escalating here, right? Okay. And so, yeah, all right. So we've had this whole deal happening. Anyan's trying to get Armin and them to help Eren, which is helping Yelena. So potentially these sides are going to converge. Potentially you have Armin and Yelena both trying to help Eren, but for different reasons. They have different end games. And then you have, meanwhile, Marley and Magath and them. And somewhere in the midst of all this is Falco and Nile and all of the other people of Parity. The 300 soldiers that are trapped in the castle that have drank the wine. Huh. God. It's crazy. But yeah, so here we are. Episode 17, right? Episode 17. I don't feel like I've talked that long. It's only been an hour and 16 minutes. That's not bad. It's only been an hour and a half. Man, that's a short discussion time for this episode. Ugh. So yeah, I'm not going to watch the OP until episode 22. I'm not going to watch the OP till episode 22. All right. This felt like I feel like this episode and episode 16 could have been sandwiched together. They're just halves of each other, but I get why they separated this. It's like the Zeke thing is a good separation. The Zeke thing separates it all out. And so I'm very curious to know. I'll eventually read the manga, but I'll be curious to know if the manga separated that out, what the deal is. But, oh my God, y'all. Okay. Well, so we've set up things for episode 18, so that's a fun time. Okay. Cheers. But yeah, I'm very curious to know your thoughts down below. I'll probably wait to watch episode 18 until after the final episode is aired on Patreon and episode 14 has come out on YouTube. I'll probably wait till then to watch episode 18. I'll probably wait till Wednesday or Thursday this week to watch it. But, so that's going to be interesting, right? Okay. It's going to be very interesting. But yeah, I'm curious to know your thoughts down below. What you all make of this. Obviously no spoilers, please. No spoilers. But yeah, we got Zeke fan service happening all the time. Levi hopefully isn't dead. And we've got all this shamble mess. I'm glad we touched base on what Armin and them are thinking. I'm glad that we get their opinions about this. I'm hesitant to say that they're right, but Eren clearly has a plan. He's clearly thinking something. I don't know if he's going to do a surprise attack and try to... He seems like he's luring Reiner and Porco there somehow, but I don't know why. I don't know what the reasons are. So, I don't know. But in any case, I hope you all have a wonderful week. Please stay safe, take care, and yeah, I'll be back very soon with episode 18 of season 4 of Attack on Titan.